Tonight in Houston, a brand new Hall of Fame is being introduced. Men who have done extremely well in business are being honored this evening, and the Master of Ceremonies is Walter Cronkite.
Here's the man who attracted the most attention tonight.
If you will do for others what you would like done for you.
Why not me? Why can't I be that person to change the world?
For the harder I work, the more I live.
My aspirations have always been to be the best that I could be.
What motivates one to be successful?
Usually with change, there's an opportunity.
Affirmation is a tremendous stimulus.
To be with people who want to do great things for other people.
It's hard for me to start without starting from a position of gratitude.
But tonight is really the pinnacle of my career. No kidding, it's the big night for Boone Pickens.
That's the way we did those Super Bowl trophies.
What a stage to be standing on.
One thing that humbles me in many ways is nearly every step and someone helping me.
Es muy mexicano.
I have learned to lead by example.
Welcome to Whataburger. May I take your order?
If you can't have fun selling Budweiser, you are doing something wrong.
Wow. None of us get anywhere in this life without getting a little help from somebody.
People first, people always first.
If you have great people with you, that's what makes it work.
Out of adversity comes opportunity.
Success is not a reward, it's a responsibility.
The ability to fundamentally affect the well-being of one's fellow man.
What business achievements and human qualities you would deem to be important?
We are Texans and we take care of each other.
If you're the best in Texas, you're the best anywhere.
We are focused on finding the next generation of exemplary Texans.
Take note of these individuals. You will see them again.
So here goes with reading a good speech.
I not only didn't expect to be in the Texas Business Hall of Fame, I didn't expect to be in business.
There is no state.
There was no place on earth
remotely as optimistic as Texas. You can feel it.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the chair of the Texas Business Hall of Fame, Amanda Brock.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here tonight. We know there are valet issues outside, and I'm just not going to talk about the Astros. But we so appreciate everybody being here. On behalf of the Texas Business Hall of Fame Foundation and our presenting sponsor, Texas Capital Bank, welcome to our 40th anniversary induction dinner. We are reminded tonight as we induct 6 new legends into the Hall of Fame of the transformational business leaders we have honored over the past 40 years, and the early stage entrepreneurs and business leaders that we have empowered to lead positive change in this great state and communities in our state. Thank you to our organization founders, many of whom are here tonight, who've worked so hard to bring our mission to life and to keep it going. So thank you to everyone here this evening. Our mission wouldn't be possible without your help. Many of you have come long distances to enjoy this evening with us, and then I do have to say it. To honor the 6 inductees tonight, those of you who are missing the Astros game, we know how special tonight is. We are going to try and keep on time, so this is why I've got the script here, so I minimize ad-libbing among other things, so that we can get everybody out on time at the same time, honoring the people we are here to honor. So to begin the evening, I'm going to ask Darryl Morris, who is the president of our Texas Business Hall of Fame Alumni Association and a 2017 scholar from Rice University, to deliver the invocation.
Good evening. Let us pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for waking us up to another beautiful and glorious day. We thank you for another 24 hours to deliver excellence and provide a positive impact on those that cross our paths each day. Thank you for putting us in the right place at the right time in front of the right people to get closer and seeking our purpose on earth. Let us continue to strive to make a better world. Amen.
Thank you, Darrell. So the Texas Business Hall of Fame's mission is to honor the accomplishments and contributions of outstanding business leaders in the state by celebrating their impact on both business and community. We tell their stories to inspire and instill the same sense of enterprise, community, and excellence in all generations. The stories we'll hear tonight are a reminder of Texas's unparalleled impact and economic potential as the 10th largest economy in the world. Economic potential not only in terms of growing and attracting more business, but also in terms of the capacity and ability to improve the lives and the futures of all our citizens. The Texas Business Hall of Fame for 40 years has honored business leaders who understand that with their success comes a responsibility to help others. We know that celebrating the achievements of our 6 inductees tonight will leave a lasting impression on many here. These are truly inspiring stories. But here this evening to help us is one of our own legends, Richard Fisher. Richard Fisher was inducted into the Texas Hall of Fame in 2019 for his exceptional impact on Texas business as the head of the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas. Today, Richard is a senior advisor to Barclays. He serves on the board of directors of Warner Brothers Discovery, as well as Tenet Healthcare, and from 2015 to 21, he served on the boards of AT&T and PepsiCo. Richard is a first-generation American. He is a first-generation college student. Richard is the embodiment of the American dream. And he has used that success to serve his community, including continuously being so generous in giving his time and energy to our mission here at the Texas Business Hall of Fame every time we ask. Thank you, Richard, and it is my pleasure to welcome you as the Master of Ceremonies tonight.
Winston Churchill had a wise perspective on business and entrepreneurship, especially relevant to what we celebrate tonight as Texans and how we differ from the rest of the nation. He said the following: "Some people regard private enterprise as a predatory tiger. Others look at enterprise as a cow to be milked. Not enough people see it as a beautiful, strong horse pulling the wagon." Well, we understand that in Texas, our leaders pull the wagon. So tonight we again celebrate the entrepreneurial spirit of Texans by introducing and inducting 6 new, strong, beautiful thoroughbreds that pull our nation's economic wagon as well as the Texas wagon. These 6 join the legacies of 220 legends who've been inducted into this organization, as Amanda mentioned, over the past 40 years. An impressive group of them are with us tonight. So let's begin by introducing the Hall of Fame members who are with us this evening. From the class of 2004, Matt Gorgeous, the former chairman and CEO of Gorgeous Food Service. From the class of 2005, Walter E. Johnson, the founder of Amegy Bank. From the class of 2006, Corbin Robertson, the CEO of Quintana Resources Holdings. From the class of 2009, Sam L. Susser, the chairman and CEO of Susser Bank, and Jerry Susser, advisory director of Susser Bank. From the class of 2010, Carlos Alvarez, founder and CEO of the Gambrinus Company, the brewer of Shiner Beers and Trummer Pills, one of my favorite companies, by the way, or my favorite beverages. And Robert Duncan, founder and chairman of Transwestern. From the class of 2012, Douglas L. Fauché, founder and CEO of Sallyport Investments. From the class of 2013, Charlie Amato, the co-founder of SWBC, and Gary Dudley, also the co-founder of SWBC. Paul Foster, the founder of Western Refining and CEO of Franklin Mountain Management. And Douglas D. Hawthorne, founding CEO emeritus at Texas Health Resources. From the class of 2015, Greg Armstrong, co-founder, retired chairman and CEO of Plains All-American, and very important to me, former chairman of the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas. And Harry Profanis, president, chief commercial officer, and director of Plains All-American. From the class of 2016, Gary C. Kelly, chairman and former CEO of Southwest Airlines. I assume you flew here on Southwest, I hope. From the class of 2018, Ernie Cockrell, the chairman of Cockrell Interests. David Weekley, co-founder of David Weekley Homes. And Dick Weekley, co-founder of David Weekley Homes. And last and certainly not least, Patricia Will, founder of Belmont Village Senior Living. Please give these great members a round of applause. So it's now with great pleasure that we present to you the class of 2022 Texas Business Hall of Fame legends. Watch this video.
John Arnold.
John is unafraid to tackle tough issues. He studies them, he breaks them down, and then he comes up with new solutions to move forward.
Rick Campo.
Houston has been propelled to the international stage from the work that Rick continues to do.
Whitney Wolfe Hurd.
Whitney Hurd represents the future of young women in America, and she's empowered to help so many of them realize their dreams.
Thomas Hicks.
Tom is tough when he needs to be tough. He's soft when he needs to be soft. He's a bigger-than-life personality. I think he's a Texan through and through.
Jeffrey Hildebrand.
Jeff never settles. He's always looking for something that's going to be meaningful to the greater good. That's a real sign of an entrepreneur.
And Paul Hobby.
One of Paul's greatest attributes is his ability to put the people on top of the plan to execute an initiative. That's a really unique talent.
Ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate the Texas Business Hall of Fame 2022 inductees.
Well, they are going to take their exit and sit down at their seats. And while they're doing so, we're going to celebrate the accomplishment not only of our new legends tonight, we also want to take a moment to remember Texas Business Hall of Fame legends who have departed us and left an indelible mark on our world. Individuals who were larger than life and who continue to represent the unique opportunity and spirit of Texas. If you could take a moment with me to recognize these incredible leaders. Can we roll the video? Wasn't that beautiful? These beautiful, strong men and women did indeed pull the wagon for all of us, and they make us very proud to be following in their footsteps. So we'll begin our program shortly. You can quickly look at your phones, quickly, sound off, to see what's going on with the Astros. Dinner is served. Thank you.
gentlemen, our program will resume in 10 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Amanda Brock.
Thank you. All right, guys, you're going to have to be quiet because apparently I've got to give you an update. Unless something happened in the last 2 minutes, I'm told it is a tie, 1-1 asterisk. So for those of you who've got it on your table and are watching it, if something's changed, tell me now. All right, apparently we're still good. So while you continue your dessert, I want to once again acknowledge our presenting sponsor, Texas Capital Bank, and to welcome to the stage their Executive Vice President, Daniel Hildebrand, who's head of investment banking, to say a few words. Daniel.
Thank you, Amanda. On behalf of Texas Capital Bank, I'm honored to be here tonight. Texas Capital Bank has a long history supporting the Texas Business Hall of Fame. We're proud to do so again tonight for this special 40th anniversary induction ceremony. The Texas Business Hall of Fame's mission is to celebrate and champion the business leaders of Texas. And it is Texas Capital Bank's mission to serve the needs of the Texas business community. We are the only full-service financial services firm founded and headquartered in Texas. And we are committed to being a business partner to the next generation of great Texas businesses. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate the 6 inductees this evening: John, Rick, Tom, Jeff, Paul, and Whitney. We share your passion for building, for creating something of lasting value, and for reinvesting in the communities that have supported your success. Tonight, we're honored to recognize your achievements, personal and professional, and to celebrate your accomplishments and substantial legacy. Thank you again for all that you do for Texas businesses and Texas communities, and again, congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. You know, it's just really good to look at everybody and have everyone here in person and enjoying this. So I want to give special thanks to this year's Texas Business Hall of Fame Executive Committee, individuals who have dedicated so much to our mission and personally have helped me so much because it's been a really busy year on my side and I've had a tremendous amount of help this year, and also to thank the entire board of the Texas Business Hall of Fame for their loyal support and involvement. So please, will all Texas Business Hall of Fame directors stand and be recognized? And please join me in thanking all of them for dedicating time to our mission. All right, so getting to the really important stuff too. The Texas Business Hall of Fame Scholar Award Program was established in 1986. At that time, we were grateful to support a tiny number of MBAs with the amazing amount of $1,000 each. Today, we have the privilege of awarding $647,000 this year to 45 recipients. But what's even better is it's not only MBA students. We've expanded our mission. It's also undergraduate students. It's United States veterans. And now even a high school student, as we try and reach and have people understand what we are doing and what their futures might hold. These are some of the state's most important entrepreneurs from a wide range of disciplines. Many of the recipients you'll see on stage in a few minutes have started companies already in Texas. While at school, they've started companies, they're on their way, and some of these companies are in their infancy, and some of them are already recognized as among the fastest growing companies of their kind. Our recipients are hand-selected by the Texas Business Hall of Fame of directors. They are interviewed by legends, and that's one of the great things. Our legends actually go to schools and interview potential students. They're interviewed by directors and distinguished alum. And today, many of those former award recipients give back to the organization generously through their service, their resources, and their time. Some are now directors, shaping our next chapter. Some are our most loyal supporters, helping us as we expand our impact, as I said, to veterans, to high school. One scholar made it full circle to be inducted as a legend. You'll see him on stage tonight, or you did see him on stage tonight. And two former scholars made our highly competitive legend ballot just this year. So tonight we celebrate our 40th anniversary. We want to take a minute to celebrate the scholars and the veterans who serve as a reminder of this organization's impact.
Please recognize these deserving individuals and future Texas business leaders. Texas A&M University, William Zartler.
Lawrence Hanrahan, University of Texas.
From Rice University, Kevin Cumming.
Douglas Poche, Rice University.
Our mission is to serve as a catalyst to promote interaction, community involvement, and Texas business in support of the foundation and its scholarship program. I welcome and encourage your active involvement.
Pretty incredible to see so many familiar faces in that clip, some more familiar than others. I would now like to ask any former scholar or veteran award recipient who's here with us tonight to please stand. We are so honored to have you with us tonight. So join me in another round of applause. Earlier today, the Texas Business Hall of Fame held a celebratory luncheon for the Scholar and Veteran Award recipients, generously sponsored by Deloitte. We're excited to welcome these recipients to the Hall of Fame family. It is now my honor to introduce to the stage the class of 2022 Scholar and Veteran Award recipients. Please join me in recognizing them. As I said, we've expanded our mission. We're going to have to expand the stage. Congratulations all, and we now have a special message for the class of 2022.
My advice to you is find something that you're passionate about. Do something where you want to spend half of your waking hours.
So the key to my personal success has been you have to constantly learn. You have to be a student your whole life. You need to take risk. It's about learning and then ultimately taking that risk.
Always remember that success does not come easy. So every single day that you have a setback, get excited by it. Let it motivate you. Let it be encouragement. Let it be fuel.
The most important advice is don't quit. When things don't go the way you were hoping they would go for a while, just stay after it, because you'll persevere and you'll get there.
For you to be a great leader, a great business person, you've got to have deep intellectual curiosity. You've got to be curious and inquisitive about things.
Be sensitive to people around you, because they are going to be the key to your success or failure.
Congratulations to all of you Texas Business Hall of Fame scholarship winners.
We're so proud of you, and you're going to do great things.
Congratulations on a really incredible achievement. We believe your hard work is not only making our economy stronger, but also breathing life and inspiration into the hearts and minds of entrepreneurs who are going to follow you. So please join me in giving the class of 2022 Scholar and Veteran Award recipients another round of applause. So our mission is made possible. I said I'm keeping us on time, so I would otherwise wait, but I know people are looking at that game. So our mission is made possible by the generous support of our philanthropic partners and donors, and we're excited to share several new awards this year. The McFerrin Center for Entrepreneurship Future Texas Business Legend Award in honor of James Galloway, class of 1929. The Paul Foster Future Texas Business Legend Award, awarded to a student of excellence at Baylor University. Paul, you are here tonight, and we thank you and Alessandra for your help and support. the William Zartler Future Texas Business Legend Award at none other than Texas A&M University with the help of Bill Zartler. I knew that was going to happen. A Hall of Fame director and, as you saw earlier, a former scholar award recipient from Texas A&M. Bill is here with us tonight supporting us again. And the Outstanding High School Entrepreneur Award, supported by Texas Business Hall of Fame Alumni Association and the Coulter and Lily Rush Hoppus Foundation. Thank you. And last, we are proud to announce a new prize that will be awarded in 2023 in honor of Sean Kennedy, a beloved member of the Texas Business Hall of Fame family, and our 2019 chairman, who passed away suddenly earlier this year. With the help of Texas Business Hall of Fame legend Harvey Najum, we've established the Sean Kennedy Award of Excellence in Innovation and Empathy. This will recognize an entrepreneur who is focused on solutions for those with physical and developmental disabilities. So much of Sean's leadership and his community leadership revolved around his daughter, Katie Kennedy, who has Down syndrome. Sean's wife, Debbie, and his sons, Brian and Justin, are here with us tonight. May I ask his family to please stand so we can recognize Sean's incredible legacy. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Richard Fisher.
Tonight we're going to hear the stories of 6 incredible individuals, each of whom has shaped the Texas economy through their business accomplishments and their impact. So sit back, enjoy this video as we celebrate our first inductee this evening, John Arnold.
Finding an area that I was passionate about is a real driver of my success. When you do something where you want to go to work, where you want to show up, you want to work the extra hours, is a great motivator for one's career. In the late 80s, the baseball card business really started to explode. I realized that there were pricing deviations between where cards were priced in the Dallas area and where they were nationally. And so this business that started out kind of as a small hobby turned into something that was grossing $5,000 a week of revenue, and it was this really fun business that helped pay for a car. I was a smart student growing up, but I wasn't a diligent student. I didn't have the patience for school. I was always kind of very interested in business and getting out into the world. And so I figured out as a freshman that by taking heavy course loads and doing a little bit of summer school, I could graduate in 3 years. I was really interested in math as an explainer for how the world worked. And that training, although I didn't know it at the time, really was the perfect academic background for a trading career. I started Enron in 1995, and it was a great time to enter that business. Enron created a whole business about trying to be a merchant bank to the natural gas industry. And so that included trading. It also included a number of aspects of investment banking.
He was just really smart, really impressive, seemed to have a handle on markets. I've never seen anyone have the level of stability and returns and trade natural gas market as well as John Arnold's.
First year of my career, I was an analyst, and then the second year, I was assistant trader, and third year, I was head trader of a small book. By the time I was 26, I was the head trader within Enron, which was the largest trading house in the business.
Enron all came undone. Everything fell apart. Everybody scattering, going different places, and John went out to raise some money and start his own hedge fund.
When I made the decision to start my own company, a lot of it was on the basis that there was a lot of investor interest. And the rhetoric on Enron post-bankruptcy had gotten very negative. And so a number of the investors who had made soft commitments said, we're going to wait and see how you do and see how things play out. What I thought was going to be $50 million of capital and allocating interest back turned out to be me scrambling to get enough money to get started on day one. And the first month I made 30-something% on the money, and the first year we were up close to 200%. And so a lot of those investors who were sitting on the sidelines all of a sudden quickly said, okay, we'll invest with you. And so that first 12, 24 months really was an explosion. We started with $8 million and 5 employees. At the peak in 2008, we had become the most successful energy hedge funds in the entire industry. But it was really a remarkable run of getting to build something. Laura and I started the Laura and John Arnold Foundation about 2008. I closed Centaurus in 2012 to concentrate on the foundation full-time.
Part of what led to John's business success is that he is unafraid. That same understanding that risk is actually where opportunity exists is something that he's infused in our philanthropy. Where other philanthropists might say, that's too complicated or too tricky, John's undeterred.
Our mission is to maximize opportunity and minimize injustice. We focus on education policy and healthcare, criminal justice reform, all areas in which the government interacts with people on a daily basis. There are a lot of very powerful special interests. Anytime you go against those, it's hard. It might take a couple years, it might take 5 or even 10 plus years in order to have success in the areas in which we're working in.
Arnold Ventures is an equal partnership between John and Laura. He and Laura have really complementary skills and perspectives. It's interesting because he's bottoms up, human computer, taking as much data as possible. She's highly strategic, top down, and then they come together with these unique perspectives that I think influence and shape what we do in extraordinary ways. John is someone who's never satisfied. He's not gonna stand still. He's gonna do something. I couldn't tell you exactly what that is, but my guess is it'll leave the world a better place.
Introducing John Arnold, Hall of Fame legend, Walter Johnson.
Tonight, it's my pleasure to be introducing John Arnold. I think most of us in this room understand the intelligence and vision that went into making John Arnold an amazing success. It's that same intelligence and vision that has shaped his current chapter in life, where he and his wife Laura are using their resources, their intelligence, and their passion to improve how we fix problems that others seem to think they're totally insurmountable. That takes compassion, it takes dedication, it takes vision, and perhaps more than anything else, it takes courage. To all the successful business leaders in this room, and to those who are on their way to having the power to influence a better tomorrow, I think John Arnold is a powerful reminder of this organization's mission to recognize those who embrace their success as a responsibility to make the world better. For this and many other reasons, John is deserving of this amazing award. And John, it is my sincere pleasure to welcome you to the Texas Business Hall of Fame.
Thank you. So we had a late scratch tonight by Jim Crane, who was supposed to introduce me, but he's up in Philadelphia trying to do something more important, which is bring home a 3-2 lead. But instead, I hit a grand slam by getting someone who's a true Houston legend, someone who has done so much for this city, Walter Johnson. So no more baseball metaphors, but thank you, Walter. It's a real honor to share the stage with you. And thank you to Amanda Brock and Meredith Walker. You know, when Amanda first reached out to me about saying I'd been nominated for the Hall of Fame, I thought it was a scam, like the who's who of America. I kept waiting for her to sell me that plaque for $99.95 plus shipping and handling. She must have heard my skepticism because she guided me to the website where I saw this incredible list of alumni that had come before, as well as told me about the class of 2022. So I told her, of course, I'd be honored to do so, and that I would take 5 plaques. But the nomination did cause me to kind of step back and reflect on my career, and even my life. What had happened to get me onto this stage? And maybe more important, what was I going to say whenever I got here? And so I stepped back and I watched some of the videos from previous years, and a couple of themes emerged. Most of the introducers talked about the nominees' attributes, things like intensity, ambition, smarts, work ethic, integrity, et cetera, et cetera. But honestly, like to quote the movie Zero Dark 30, we're all smart. Right? Everybody in this room has most of those qualities. So there was something more than that. And so I listened to the nominee acceptance speeches, and I started to hear a different theme. It was about the role of happenstance and of luck in the careers. And when I look back on my own career, there were so many decisions along the way that either I made or were made for me that felt random at the time. Any one of those could have led to a very different life that would not include being on the stage right now. Had I taken that scholarship for the private high school in Dallas, had I gotten into Harvard, my first choice in college, or had I gotten into my second choice, or my third or fourth choice, had I not been rejected from that investment banking analyst job that I so desperately wanted in New York City, had the employee above me not left for a better offer, giving me an early promotion, and especially had I not gone on that blind date with this beautiful and brilliant woman who became my wife. Without that, I certainly wouldn't be on this stage. Like, had I made a different decision at any of those points, or had somebody else made a different decision for me, I wouldn't be here today, and I could tell dozens of those stories. The point is that opportunities and paths have this randomness, but they're not totally random. They exist within the confines of something that's very much not random. They exist here, right, in the United States, in the state of Texas, in a society where anything is possible. Yeah, I worked hard, and I think I'm smart, but I also grew up in a safe environment. I had 2 loving and nurturing parents. I had public services that worked and a public school, public education that worked well for me. I took advantage of those opportunities, but the point is that I had those opportunities. And that was my big realization as I got older and reached the peak of my private sector success. That realization is what led Laura and me to focus on philanthropy. Because the best way that we could give back to the society that did so much for us was to try to make sure as many other people as possible also had that opportunity. So that's why we at Arnold Ventures try to battle some of society's most intractable problems, like how to bend the cost curve in healthcare, how to make the criminal justice system both more just and humane while preserving public safety, how to bring about real choice in K-12 education, how to ensure accountability of our higher ed system, how to safeguard democracy, and broadly, how to improve government to maximize opportunity and minimize injustice. So the arc of my career has led me to this current focus on philanthropy. The random truly has converged with the deliberate. And I'm so lucky to be in a position to be able to give back, and I'm grateful for my entire family who have supported me along the way through this incredible and amazing roller coaster. I'm humbled to receive this award, and I hope I can make you proud. Thank you.
What a great beginning. Thank you, John. Although, I think you just said you have to call me Mr. Arnold from now on, having received this great prize. And now we're going to learn a little bit about our next honoree, Rick Campo.
I think the key to success is really we work harder than anybody else. We never stop learning. We're constantly reinventing. And then the third thing I think that's really important that's been critical for us is taking risk. Getting out of the box, being uncomfortable with what you're doing, that's what's made Camden really successful over the years. I was born and raised in California. My father decided to move to Houston in 1976. Houston was booming. It was probably the best economy in the country at the time, and I was looking for a job, and I looked at various opportunities and started at Century Development in the real estate business. Camden actually started as a division of Century Development. Keith Oden and I did a leverage buyout, and we spun it out to be ultimately the company it is today. You know, the real estate market can be up and down. You have to really prepare for the worst and hope for the best. You never can be too leveraged, and you have to make sure that you have enough capital to be able to make it through the cycles. During tough economic times, we do even better. Today, we have 70,000 apartments in 15 cities. We have 1,800 employees. When we went public in 1993, we were a $200 million company. Today, we're north of $20 billion. We've been on the Fortune list of best companies to work for 15 years straight. That stat alone is probably the thing that I'm most proud of about Camden. In order to be on that list, people really have to love what they do.
If you ask Rick, you know, what's the secret to the sauce of having a great culture? You hire really smart people. You put them in an environment where they can do their best work, and then you make sure that when the company does well, they do well.
The culture part of our equation is just huge. Camden exists to improve the lives of our teammates, our customers, and our shareholders one experience at a time. And we really believe that.
Rick never thinks about the scale of the undertaking. You're going to build 3 sports venues in the next 5 years.
It was fun getting involved in, building Energy Stadium and the Toyota Center and Minute Maid Park. I chaired the bid committee, and then we won the Super Bowl bid in 2013, and then chaired the host committee, and it was a lot of fun. I think the challenge that a lot of people have is they think if something's big and complicated, that's too hard to understand. If you break complicated business down into their basic components, it can be understood pretty simply.
Rick sees Houston as his family. He has been a participant and supporter of the March of Dimes, Boys and Girls Club, the Bayou Partnership, the Ballet. He currently sits on the board of Baker Ripley, the Coalition of the Homeless, Greater Houston Partnership. He is the chair of the Port of Houston, and that's just right now.
A lot of people ask me about, what do you know about ports? And the answer was 3 years ago, not much.
Once he gets his mindset on something, he's doggedly persistent. He will continue to dig and continue to dig until he understands it better than you do. It's a big positive to have somebody like Rick with his business sense guiding the Port of Houston. The Port of Houston kicked off the biggest deepening and widening project and one of the biggest projects in the history of the country. That had been in the works for over 15 years, and it took Rick ultimately to bring that to fruition and move that project forward and bring it to completion.
To give back, this is what he does. When COVID hit, it was a very trying time for the city. Rick Campo set up a multi-million-dollar relief program for all of his residents and employees. And so when it was time to disseminate the COVID relief dollars to help with rental assistance, all the elected officials really looked and said, hey, Rick, how did you do it? 200,000 people served by the program we put together, and millions of dollars disseminated. We know why Camden continues to be one of the best places to work, because of Rick and his generosity.
Rick loves new things. He loves learning. I mean, he's a joyful person, and he's fun to be around, and he's full of life.
It's just been a good run, and I just am very blessed, and I don't know what's next. We'll just keep doing what we do.
Introducing Rick Campo, Hall of Fame legend David Weekley.
Wow, what a great video, huh? Man. Oh, also, this is the first time in my life I've ever been a sports reporter. But I want to let you know, it's the top of the fourth, and the Astros are ahead 2-1. My family won't believe I just did that. You know, it's amazing. Rick Campo was nominated by his peers for this honor, and he deserves it incredibly well. As CEO of Camden Property Trust, I got to tell you, the video, which I didn't get to see till tonight, took a lot of my speech. But anyway, if you can think about it, going public in 1993 with $200 million in assets, and today with $20 billion in assets, 30 years later, that's 100 times. Not a bad businessman, right? I'm glad I'm a stockholder. It's been a great run. And Rick and Keith Oden, his partner, you know, I love companies that create great cultures, and to be on that list of Fortune's 100 best place to work and be based here in Houston is an incredible credit to him and his company and Keith. And I really appreciate and laud him for that. And the only problem I have with that is that he ends up head of our company most years. But he's really done an awesome job. And I really don't know of anybody that's quite done all the things that Rick has done in terms of the community. He started out serving as the first chairman of the Houston First Corporation, which was a public-private partnership that was put together to bring more people into Houston. And he had the idea to go spend $350 million and redo the convention center. And then he brought the Marriott Marquis, a 1,000-room hotel. And then he figured out how to do tax incentives for folks downtown to take old, dilapidated buildings and turn them into the boutique hotels we have today. I mean, he's a finance genius, and he did this for the city, and it's awesome. I mean, currently that creates over $100 million a year in hotel tax for the city. And then he does that, and then he moves on to something that's easy, chairman of the Super Bowl committee. I mean, how hard could that be, right? And so he does that and brings into Houston more than $350 million as a Super Bowl committee. Then he moves on. Somebody asked him to be chairman of the Harris County Sports Association. Can you imagine trying to finance one stadium? How about two stadiums? How about three stadiums that he financed that bless our city today in the early 2000s? It's amazing. It's incredible. And then, as a port commissioner, to go to Washington after 15 years of talking and wrangling and doing all the political things that go on, to go get $1 billion from Washington to Houston to widen and deepen the port, to get the largest tankers in the world and freight ships into Houston is incredible. So I've got to tell you, I don't know of anybody that's had more impact on the city of Houston and our lives and our economic future than Rick Campo. He's a very successful businessman, as he spoke about, but you're right. What about for the community? It is just incredible. In his spare time, Rick serves on the boards of Central Houston, Greater Houston Partnership, Baker Ripley, and the Coalition for the Homeless. Rick has been strongly supported by his long-term wife, Mo, and over these years he's been blessed to have 3 children and 6 grandchildren. And Rick really is one of the most generous people I know. I've been fortunate enough that he's on our private company board, and his insights are always not just smart, but thoughtful and insightful and powerful in the way he brings them apart. So he's not just resourceful and generous with his money, but he's resourceful and generous with his time. And he gives that to his family first, his employees second, and our city third. So I don't know anyone else who's done that list of things for our city. And please join me in welcoming Rick Campo up to the stage. Thank you, Rick.
Whoa, it sounds like I died or something. I mean, really, number one, thank you so much for the Texas Hall of Fame. And I mean, thinking that I'm standing here tonight is like just blowing my mind to a certain extent. And I thank God that I wasn't involved in the scholarship program as a scholastic guy, because I would never have been on this stage ever. I've always been a fake it till you make it kind of guy, and I'm still doing that. And I will tell you, though, I had this incredible lunch. We had this incredible lunch today with the in the scholar program with the 45 folks that got $15,000 of cash without any strings. I don't know what I would have done with that if at that age, really. But bottom line is that we had such a great lunch today, and I didn't know what to expect. And but I was really amazed by the talent and the energy and the questions that all these folks asked us at the lunch day. We did a Q&A with the 6 inductees, and it was just amazing. The thing I thought was the most amazing was they didn't ask about success and how to get from A to B. They asked about, like, when you really screwed up, how did you deal with it? When you had setbacks, what did you do? And I thought that was really amazing, because when you think about it, everybody talks about the high points, right? Here's how much money you made, here's where you went public, or here's what you did in the building you built or whatever. And they don't talk about how all the things that didn't get done, all the challenges you had along the way, and the problems that you had to solve. And I think that's probably one of the things that creates value for most people. It's what makes us strong, what makes us smarter. You know, as long as you don't keep doing the same mistake over and over and over, right? Then you do become a stronger and a better person about in business and in life. The thing that I really enjoyed today, I stood outside this hallway, just out there looking over Discovery Green, the Marriott Marquis, the Partnership Tower, the whole redone George R. Brown with the promenade and all the art and all the retail and all that. And when I was talking to 3 or 4 of the scholar recipients, and they said, and I made a comment during the lunch about how I was involved with the team that did that. And this one young man said to me, he said, well, what was here first? I said, well, it was all parking lots, pretty much. 6-lane road. This hotel was the only thing here. The Marriott didn't exist. None of those other facilities did. He goes, well, how did that get done? That just seems like a lot of stuff and a lot of work. I said, well, let me ask you a question. How old are you? And he said, I'm 29. I go, well, I'm I hate to say this, but like 40 years older than you. And when I was your age, I wondered, how did that happen? How does stuff get done? How do big civic things happen, or even companies get built like Camden? And the answer is, you have to figure it out. It's simple, taking simple building blocks of business and personal relationships with people, And having the vision and then putting action behind the vision and making it happen. And what I love about the Texas Business Hall of Fame is that's what we're doing. We're creating that action and creating that vision for young people. And that's what's really, really cool about it, because I'm still a fake it till you make it guy, and I probably will be until I die. But it's just been an amazing run, and I really, really love being part of this group. Finally, I just want to say one sort of the biggest issue for me, and when I ever think about my business success, it comes down to teams. It's not me. The reason I'm standing here is because I've had many, many people on my team. It starts with my family, my wife Mo, Jenny, Richard. Kim is not here tonight because she's not feeling well. Her husband Ted is. And it's really the team of the family that starts, and that's one of the most important things. And then it's the team that you have behind you. My team at Camden has been amazing. When I first started the port, I sent my CFO over there, my head of HR over there, and all of our insurance folks and everybody. I said, you dig through all their financials, dig through all their stuff, and come back and tell me how it works. And they did. And so I get all my power in understanding things from all the folks around me. My partner Keith Oden, co-founder of Camden. I mean, he's been my yin and I've been the yang. He's no, I'm yes. I'm the gas, he's the brakes. I never saw a deal I didn't like. He's never saw one that he ever liked. And when we make the deal, he makes it work. And that's what makes the world go round. Partnerships, teams, and we have to build those relationships and those teams, and we can make amazing things happen in the world. Things we never thought would ever happen, we can make happen. So thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight, even though it's a very, very strange feeling, and I do thank you so much. Thanks.
Well, Rick referred to his age, and it's now my pleasure to bring the introduction through video of a very young, remarkably successful, the pride of SMU, Whitney Wolfe Hurd.
I was destined to be in Texas. I'll never forget the smell of that Texas air the first time I landed at DFW and said, this is the place. I grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah, and SMU was this place I heard about my whole life because my mother had gone to SMU, her mother had gone to SMU. We had this community around SMU that almost felt very aspirational to go and be part of this really exciting place. While I was at SMU, I was always trying to start a business or be inventive to some degree. And so there was this entrepreneurial spirit about me at a younger age that, in hindsight, I think was unique. After college, I took a very untraditional route, and I decided to go travel Southeast Asia for a few months and really start to see the world. And while I was there, I had this real desire to find a way to connect people when they travel. And so my wheels already started turning about how could we leverage the cell phone and technology to help people connect with people around them and find people they didn't know yet. Meanwhile, I returned back to the United States and I end up taking a job interview at a tech incubator. And one of the projects we launch out of this incubator ends up being Tinder. Being a co-founder of what became one of the most interesting and fast-growing startups, it was obviously incredibly devastating when I left because I was saying goodbye to everything that I had worked so hard for. I'm a firm believer that problems and painful moments are opportunities.
The Tinder departure was a growth experience for Whitney, but it was really an opportunity to grow, redefine herself. That experience actually was a launching pad for Bumble.
The original idea was I wanted to start a women-only social network where compliments were the currency. Bumble started as a dating app where women make the first move to put women in control of their dating experience. It has since evolved into a friend-finding product and into a community product, and also a broader brand that advocates for what we believe is pushing relationships in the better direction.
Whitney is just a true inspiration. She has built an amazing brand. She's a marketing genius, plain and simple. All those spin on words and amazing ads you see, that's Whitney.
Bumble is now a very global business. We have offices in multiple cities around the world, really anywhere across planet Earth at this point. There could very well be a Bumble love story or a Bumble baby. And I think that's what really makes us the most proud, is the scale and the impact that we can have on people's lives. Going public was very exciting because it meant we could share our story with anybody who believed in it. It was really surreal to be navigating first-time motherhood while leading up to taking a company public. It was definitely the most challenging time of my life, but also the most rewarding. We at Bumble Inc. really strive to create kind connections, and that means internally as well. Kindness is honest, kindness is respectful, kindness is about doing the right thing, even if it's the hard thing. We have a program at Bumble called Moves Making Impact, where every time a woman makes the first move, she can actually select who she wants to benefit through that move. So every time she sends the first message, a portion of that will go to a cause of her choice.
One of the biggest benefits to having this success for Whitney was the ability to give back. How can I help women? How can I help children?
In 2019, we were able to pass a law that would make the sending of an unsolicited lewd image illegal in the state of Texas. It was shocking to me to see the disparity between what is okay on the internet but what is not okay offline. We want to take a leading role in making the internet safer and more accountable for everyone.
2 years ago, she started her own foundation where she really wants to create a major impact.
When it comes to causes that Whitney engages in, she sees the needs of society with her heart and addresses those needs with her curiosity, courage, and passion.
Whitney is just an inspiration. The brand that she has built from the ground up and turned it into a public company, all while giving back to the community, and it's just remarkable.
This is just the beginning for her, and get ready because she will really move the needle in a lot of different ways for our world today.
Introducing Whitney Wolfe Herd Hall of Fame legend, Patricia Will.
Good evening, everyone. It may surprise my husband of 40-plus years to know that on a recent business trip away from him in Chicago, in preparation, of course, for tonight's event, I signed on to Bumble. The online dating platform that Whitney Wolfe Herd founded in 2014, just 2 years after graduating SMU. In early 21, at the height of the pandemic, she took Bumble public at a valuation, sit down folks, of $13 billion. And at 31, she became the youngest self-made female billionaire in the world. So why Bumble? In contrast to the cruel world of matchmaking online described by my friends and my sister in this room, I found Bumble to be kind, upbeat, and inclusive. Much more than a dating app, it's an instrument created by a woman to empower women. The analogy for a woman of my day would be this. You're able to sit at a bar, maybe scan the room, but you're protected by an invisible fence from getting hit on. Whitney Wolfe Herd is much more than a genius entrepreneur. She's a wife and mom who, as you saw, brought her 18-month-old with her to ring the bell when went public on NASDAQ. In that moment, she was the youngest woman ever to take a company public. Her passion for empowering women is not just the catalyst for her entrepreneurship, but for her commitment to a myriad of initiatives that take on the status quo and are an inspiration especially to women and girls across the globe. Whitney, I was already past 60 at my induction 4 years ago, so I cannot describe how thrilled I am to introduce you, a woman half my age, into the pantheon of legends at the Texas Business Hall of Fame.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much. That was such a beautiful introduction, and candidly, the most refreshing conversation I've had in a very long time. Earlier this evening, I shared that I was struggling with extreme mom guilt for being here tonight, and you so thoughtfully reassured me that no preschooler will ever remember this. And that it will be okay. So thank you so much. You are such an inspiration to me. Wow, I truly am at a loss for words. I don't know how to say what an honor this is. But I will say a couple quick things. First of all, thank you so much for having me and for acknowledging Bumble. It's really, truly not about me. It's about the team and the people around me. And most importantly, it's about the Texans that have had my back to make this possible. There is no Bumble, and there is no public version of me without the Texans that have been behind me. First and foremost, my husband, Michael, the ultimate Texan. He is literally Texas. If there was a billboard when you got off the airplane in Texas, he is that. He is a rodeo roping, cattle owning, amazing, incredible human. But what's so impressive about him is he has been my biggest supporter and my biggest inspiration. Gaylord and Courtney, who were both in the video, thank you very much for the cameos. Those were amazing. They're also Texans, and they have been by my side from day one before Bumble even existed. And so much of our early workforce and so much of our early user base have been Texan loyalists. Like, we are a Texas company, and so many of our friends and family tonight. So thank you so much for having us. I also want to say to all of the business leaders and hopeful business leaders in the room, you do not have to fit in to stand out. You can be you, and you can make it on your own terms, whatever that means. All I can leave this room with tonight is that two things really make the world go round. The first thing is being kind to each other, and to borrow the words of someone else earlier this evening, your host of the night, be kind to yourself. And the second thing is the connections and relationships you have with others. So make sure you invest in those, because that is truly what builds your businesses. I would not be standing on this stage, or I would not even be a business leader if I had not really put my relationships at the forefront. I am obviously giving a bit of a nod to my business because I'm in the relationship industry, but that's all we've got here on planet Earth, is the relationships we have with each other and with ourselves. So I am so honored to be here tonight, and thank you so much. I feel like I've been talking for 200 hours, so I'm going to stop. But thank you for having me, and enjoy.
Congratulations, Whitney. And thank you for letting me stand next to three remarkable, dynamic women for a photograph. That was a thrill. Now let's enjoy a video of our next honoree, which is Tom Hicks.
Always had a good sense of what was going to happen as an industry develops. Always kind of had a knack for being a leader in that. During the war, my mother lived in Houston, which is where I was born, and then the war ended and they moved to Dallas, which is where I grew up. All of a sudden, my dad came home one day and said he'd bought a radio station in Port Arthur. We're all moving to Port Arthur. Great people, but they're tough. It's where I learned to be tough. Because my dad had the local radio station, I became a weekend disc jockey. So that was kind of my claim to fame in Port Arthur. Then I got out of school. I went to the University of Texas. Before my senior year, I took a detour into the Army Reserves during Vietnam. I became real independent during that time in the Army, so I ended up getting a job in Chicago where I went to business school at night. I was exposed to venture capital and decided that's really what I wanted to do. My first job was in New York with Morgan. My first deal was a company, it was actually in Dallas, called DocuTel. They were the first manufacturer of automatic teller machines, ATMs. I started Hicks & Haas in 1985. Bobby Haas was a world-class negotiator. We would raise money on a deal-by-deal basis, and we ended up doing, 6 or 7 major transactions.
Tom is a pioneer. He's a trailblazer. Tom created one of the first private equity firms in the United States. In many ways, he helped invent that business. Perhaps Tom's cornerstone transaction was 7-Up and Dr. Pepper. That was a financial home run.
We bought Dr. Pepper, and literally within 2 months bought 7-Up, and that was a busy time.
What put him on the map really was the acquisition of Dr. Pepper and 7-Up. He finds a lot of deals. He instinctively knows a good deal from a bad deal. He can almost instantly figure out how to finance that, how much debt, how much equity, what partners to bring in. He's just amazing at how he can do that.
One of the most well-known firms that Tom created was Hicks, Muse, Tate, and First. They did very interesting transactions for a number of years, managed billions of dollars.
Of course, going back to Dr. Pepper and 7-Up, we coined that buy and build. We wanted to buy a platform company and use that platform company and the management team to go buy other companies in the industry. So that became part of our marketing. We were the first to do it, and now, of course, everybody does it. It was quite handy for us to use to raise money.
In the late 90s, the FCC passed a new communications law that opened up the radio business, and Tom and I came together. We bought, in a very short period of time, 350 radio stations, and combined with a large market radio group, it was the largest radio company in the United States. It was very successful. The people he had on that team were absolutely amazing.
Tom is driven by measured risk. He's bold. I don't know that anyone else in the world has owned major sports franchises in 2 different continents.
I bought the Dallas Stars in 1997. I bought it really cheap and fell in love with hockey, and we were good. In 1999, we won the Stanley Cup. In all my business experience, that's the most fun I've ever had. When George W.'s group wanted to sell the Rangers, they talked to me, and I decided that would make a good fit, so I bought the Rangers. So being a leveraged buyout guy, I couldn't resist having debt. I put up half the money in equity, and I borrowed the other half. And that was a mistake.
Tom had many successes on the field. He had challenges ultimately that he faced, but he did so in an incredibly positive manner.
When the sports world kind of collapsed on him, that would be the end of most people. He woke up the next day and was figuring out the next great deal.
Tom loves his alma mater, the University of Texas.
He's given millions of dollars to the University of Texas. He was the driving force behind the founding of UTEMCO, which is now the second largest endowment in the world.
I think UTEMCO has got so much momentum. They've got great management, they've got great boards. And that was really what I created, was a structure that would have institutional memory. We didn't have that before. We had like $6 or $7 billion. Now the assets are, I think, approaching $60 billion. Like most people, I want to give my philanthropy to where I think it'll do the most good. And my mother suffered for 15 years with Alzheimer's. I watched her go through that, so I gave a very generous gift to UT Southwestern to establish a chair for Alzheimer's research.
Much of Tom's philanthropic effort is actually giving of his time. He loves what he does. He loves business. And to this day, he hasn't slowed down a step. He's going every day trying to find the next big deal.
Introducing Thomas Hicks, our Master of Ceremonies for the evening, and Hall of Fame legend, Richard Fisher.
Well, you guys caught me. I was having a little pick-me-up with a can of Dr. Pepper. What a coincidence, huh? Tom Hicks and I have been friends for some 40 years. And today we either talk or text each other 3 or so times a day. And oddly, just like a can of Dr. Pepper says, most often at 10, 2, and 4. Although I confess, the 4 o'clock Dr. Pepper has been replaced by martinis. Tom is a true friend. And the great business legends that we honor at the Texas Hall of Fame all have many acquaintances, but few have true friends. A true friend knows your weaknesses, but shows you your strengths. A true friend feels your fears and fortifies your faith in yourself, sees your anxieties, but frees your spirit, recognizes your drawbacks, but emphasizes your possibilities. Tom has done that for me for 40 years, and I've endeavored to do it for him. Now, I was a midshipman at the U.S. Naval Academy, and in Annapolis, I was taught that anyone can hold a helm when the sea is calm, but it takes a very strong helmsman to navigate heavy seas. I have watched Tom sail the calmest seas with bravado, and I have watched him navigate the fiercest of storms. He has always held the helm. He has always kept going. And this is why I admire my neighbor, my friend, so much. Tom, it took a long time for the Texas Business Hall of Fame to honor you, but now is your moment. So congratulations, my friend, my true friend. Come up here and be honored. Tom?
Richard Fisher, what a guy. He's the last Democrat I supported. I was actually his state finance chairman when he ran against Kay Bailey Hutchison, and he would have made a great senator. His story was, I'll be a conservative Democrat, and there weren't many. So, but Richard is one of the smartest guys I know. He is intellectually smart. He's brilliant on his feet. He's great on TV with CNBC. I asked him to be one of the founding outside directors on Utimco, which he did. He did a great job before he left to be an ambassador in Washington. But anyway, at my age and everything I've done, that's a long story, and they've allocated 5 minutes to each of us to make remarks. So I can't do that, so I'm going to touch on 2 small things. One is to talk about kind of how I got into this whole really unknown business called private equity, or back then it was called venture capital, and how either the fates of life or divine intervention, but I got this opportunity and I jumped all over it, and the rest was history. And then I'm going to touch briefly on when the governor of Texas asked me to come help her fix the UT endowment returns, which were among the worst in the country, and that led to the creation of Utimco. So I'll talk about those 2 briefly. I mean, venture capital, now it has a connotation of high tech. It didn't back then. It was just doing private investments. There was no such word as private equity. It was called venture capital. And I didn't know what it was, but I was a marketing major at University of Texas. But I had a chance to interview with Continental Bank in Chicago, the biggest bank in Chicago and really in the whole Midwest. And it was when I'd come out of the Army with, as I mentioned in the film, I was feeling very independent. So I wanted to send myself to graduate school at night at Northwestern, and the bank had that program. So I went to work for this bank. And by the way, Chicago in 1969 was not a bad place to be a young bachelor. So I had a lot of fun. There were 13 United Airlines stewardesses that lived on my floor. And back then, if you were a stewardess and you got married, they fired you. Okay. But life changes. Anyway, I was a young grunt in the credit department. I was doing analytical work and writing letters, replies to inquiries, and all the crap you do in the credit department as a rookie. And somebody in the bank had the idea that, well, they're talking about all this new stuff in Washington that banks are going to be allowed to do. And that was really the lead up to what became the Bank Holding Company Act of 1970. So they were looking at different businesses that a bank holding company could own. They were looking at travel agencies, they were looking at REITs, mortgage banking operations, and venture capital, which banks did through a thing called a Small Business Investment Company, an SBIC. So they used us grunts in the credit department to go in the library and write the first draft of a report on what that business was all about. So I spent about 2 months researching this new word called venture capital. And I was fascinated with it. I mean, it was really a cottage industry done primarily by some wealthy guys. My wife Cinda's uncle was one of the pioneers back in the 60s, and they'd make a $50,000 investment in a startup, and if it's successful, they'd make, whatever, but a lot. And the only institutional capital were the banks who were doing it through their SBICs. So I ended up leaving the bank, went back to business school full-time in Los Angeles at USC, and I spent all my time focusing on venture capital. You know, all my friends were either real estate guys or bankers. Nobody knew what I was interested in. And I mean, Dick Vermillion's here tonight. He had no idea what venture capital was. But at age 27, I was able to talk myself into talk the bank into hiring me to come run the biggest venture capital subsidiary in the South, which was the First National Bank in Dallas. And so I came at age 27. I didn't know what I was doing, but I got the job, and after about 3 years, I figured I was on the wrong side of the table. I wanted to be the guy on the other side of the table getting the money instead of being the guy dishing it out. So I had the opportunity to do my first leveraged buyout, which I did at age 31. A company in Dallas called Atlas Architectural Metals. And I met a wonderful man in New York named Lewis Marks, who was became a lifelong friend, and he put up the money. And that kind of got me going. I started doing deals, and I formed Hicks and Haas in 1984, 85. And at that time, Forsman Little had taken Dr. Pepper private, and then they sold off all the pieces, and we ended up buying the biggest piece at the end, which was the bottling operation in North Texas. And it was a $95 million deal, which for guys that were playing penny ante, that was a big deal. And we raised the money through GE Capital. Step back and look at it. Today, private equity is now part of what they call alternative assets, is a $10 trillion industry. $10 trillion industry. Back then, I bet it was under $1 billion, for sure. It was such a small, highly inefficient market. We didn't have a fund, but we were able to buy Dr. Pepper because we were able to go convince people to invest in us. And we had the management team locked up, which was the key. But it was truly a remarkable time, and I thank God for it, because I think it was divine. But I was at the right place at the right time in the right business with the right people, and we had the success that we did. Bobby and I were great partners. We ended up disliking each other greatly because we were so different. It's like a marriage. They say if you're opposites attract. Well, in business partners that can work for a while, but it got old fast. But Bobby passed away 2 years ago. We reconciled. We lived in the same high rise, and I forgave him for everything I was mad about. But we were a great team because I had the personality and the relationships to be able to bring unusual deal flow in. And Bobby, because we didn't have a fund, Bobby was such a good negotiator, we ended up having much bigger pieces of deals at the end of the day than otherwise we would have had. So I give him a lot of credit for that. Anyway, I formed Hicks Muse Tate and First. Charles Tate was my longtime partner there. He's here tonight. He came by and said hi. We did 12 funds, and along the way, as the film said, I bought this little hockey team because it was cheap, and then I fell in love with hockey, and then I won the damn Stanley Cup. And because I was attuned to the buy and build aspect of, I saw that sports was all about regional television. And if you're going to do that, you need to have a baseball team. So, by the way, what's the score now? My new son-in-law, as of May, my number 6 son, Rick Cosgrove, is a lifelong Phillies fan, so he's okay, enough of that. So let me talk about UTEMCO, because I'm a lifelong Republican, conservative. Other than Richard, I never backed a Democrat. I had a lot of friends that were Democrats. Tom Dunning's one of my best friends. He's a Democrat. He's here tonight, sitting at my table. But we may not be friends next Wednesday when the results come in. I've got inside information. It's going to be a good day for like-minded people. Anyway, a guy named Bob Utley, who is a great fan of UT, he didn't go there, but he's just a big fan of UT, was one of our investors, and he asked me to go with him to go meet with the governor. He said, I think she would like to talk to you. She had appointed Pete Conway, who many of you here would know, who passed away a few years ago. Pete was a partner of Goldman Sachs, and she had appointed him to the Board of Regents. Pete was a Democrat. And after a year, he figured out it was an intolerable conflict of interest with his partnership in Goldman Sachs. So he had to resign, and they were really Ann was really looking to Pete to figure out how to solve this problem. And all of a sudden, he had to resign. So she asked me if I thought I could solve the problem. And I told her I could. I thought I knew exactly how to do it. I'd go talk to all the smart people that are doing it the right way, and we'd change how we're doing. So she took a gamble. She said, "Don't ever embarrass me. I'm going to appoint you." And she gave me carte blanche, total authority, which is interesting because it's all about power. Money is power. But for the governor to give up the power of that money, and then in turn, Bernie Rappaport was our chairman of the board, who was a wonderful man. Bernie gave up that power, and they abdicated and said, "All right, Tom's going to go solve this problem. We'll give him a chance to do this." And I went around to all the top university endowments in the country and told them what we're trying to do, and got their advice. And it turned, I reached the conclusion there were two main problems. One is the Texas Constitution was set up where you could only spend realized gains. So you could only spend income. And, Harvard spends an allocation. It's total return. So that forced two things. It forced us to, as a university, it forced us to buy way too many bonds because that was real income. And to have a 70% bond portfolio during the 80s when the stock market went up 300% was expensive. And the other problem was that the chairman of the Board of Regents has had, probably still does, virtually dictatorial powers with the support of the rest of his board. So as it came to how they were going to manage the money, it was up to what the chairman of the board wanted to do. So if you were a chairman of the board and liked bonds and didn't like stocks, they'd do bonds. If the other way, they'd do stocks. So there was no institutional memory, there was no continuity. So and then we couldn't pay people. I think Britt Harris is here tonight. Britt would have never been able to be attracted to UTEMCO in the old days. The pay scale was compared to professors. So when we set up UTEMCO, well, first of all, we had to go get a constitutional amendment to allow total return payouts, and I funded that, the lobby effort personally. We got it done. Back then, the leaders in the legislature were Bob Bullock, and of course Governor Richards, and they kind of stepped aside, allowed that to happen, and we brought in outside directors on a 9-year term to create that institutional memory. Richard was one of our first, as I said, until he had to leave us. But we had Luther King was there for 9 years, Susan Montgomery was there for 9 years, and I'm not sure how many outside directors there still are, but it created a whole long-term view of how we do things. By the way, we did a simulation in 1995 where we went back to take the same asset allocation model we had adopted in 95 after we had done all this new stuff, and went back to 1980 and simulated what the returns would have been, and they would have been $20 billion higher. $20 billion, and that's, at the time I think our total assets were $8 billion. So it was very expensive for the state of Texas to not have the right setup for managing their endowments. I am so proud of how UTEMCO turned out. Brett and his team are doing a great job. And I think the assets are now 65 billion, up from about 4. So anyway, when I sign my going away sheet at the end of the road, of the things I'm proud of, there will be 2 things: UTEMCO and winning the Stanley Cup in 1999. Thank you.
Well, congratulations, Tom. And now it's time to watch a video about another great UT alum and supporter, Jeff Hildebrand.
I always did want to control my own destiny. I mean, I adhere to the motto, control your own destiny or someone else will. My parents were really wonderful role models. One of the real keys to my success in life has been really seeing the models that they showed me of hard work, of engaging in something that you're passionate about creating value. Ultimately, I finished high school and went to college, the University of Texas. My undergraduate degree was in geology, and thereafter I went to work for Exxon. After working at Exxon for a few years, I found very quickly that really the decision makers were engineers. And I determined that if I was really going to go out and create my own company over time, I knew that I had to go get further education. So I went back to University of Texas and got a master's.
always looking to improve his own game, Jeff joined the well-known Houston businessman Jack Trotter. There, he fine-tuned his entrepreneurial and commercial skills. In 1989, he left to form his own company.
I believe that you've got to do something very well in focus, an inch wide and a mile deep. And effectively, that's what we did at Hilcorp for many, many years.
Hilcorp today is the largest privately owned oil and gas company in the United States with more than 20,000 producing wells. One of the challenges of a company of that size is how to keep the entire enterprise focused on day-to-day activity that actually creates value. Jeff uniquely created the buy-in program, a very powerful value driver. All employees are given the opportunity to buy in on each investment on the same terms as Hilcorp. Every employee is a real owner. The result is a totally aligned workforce that consistently delivers super performance.
Our organization is very lean. We never have more than 5 layers between the top and the frontline employee. And we do that for a very specific reason, so that we can drive decision-making to the lowest possible level. You give the people the freedom, the tools, the resources, and the freedom to go make it happen. You've transformed a culture, and that's what Jeff's done.
I want to create an organization that can provide long-term personal wealth for all the employees in the company. We want a company that's nimble and entrepreneurial, that empowers the employees, that gives them access to the numbers, that lets them influence the bottom line. That's how you create a great company.
Jeff started BHAG. BHAGs are big, hairy, audacious goals, and they are truly that, because when you see them for the first time as an employee, you're thinking, no way in heck can we hit these numbers. And so the prizes over the years have been a car for the first one, $100,000 for the second one. The one we just recently paid out was $75,000 cash and $25,000 to the charity of your choice, which was probably the most amazing program I've ever been a part of in my career.
We believe wholeheartedly in trying to make the communities that we work in better. And we think that there's no better model than having our employees distribute philanthropy and charity in the communities that we work in.
Upon joining Hilcorp, every employee is given an account with $2,500 to give away to charities of their choice. The company also matches yearly contributions by employees up to $2,000. This is the pinnacle of servant leadership.
And his goal with this is he wants to create lifelong givers. And Jeff said this before, giving's infectious.
Both Mindy and I are very passionate about giving back. We believe that helping the poor and the needy is clearly something that God wants us to do.
I know they've been very active in things like Star of Hope and Catholic charities.
We've done a lot of things with the University of Texas. We've done a large gift to Texas A&M University. We created a world-class equestrian center there. We named it after my father, who was a veterinarian and attended Texas A&M University. So it was just a fantastic tribute to my father.
Jeff defines the category of servant leader. He has unmatched business skills and all the personal qualities you look for in a friend and family man. I mean, really, he is the full package.
I think Jeff's just getting started. He's got a strong work ethic. He's got a strong moral compass. He's a true Texan. And when you align those things, great things are going to happen.
Introducing Jeffery Hildebrand, Hall of Fame legend Ernie Cockrell.
Well, good evening. What a great video. It painted a very true picture of Jeff. It's my distinct honor and pleasure to introduce Jeff Hildebrand. And Jeff and his wife and their 3 children live here in Houston, and foremost of Jeff's priorities are his family. At the lunch today, I was watching Jeff and kind of thinking, what a role model for all these young entrepreneurs. I mean, Jeff is absolutely. So Jeff is strong in faith, in family, in work, in service, in country, and in philanthropy. He's a self-made man who has achieved excellence in virtually everything he undertakes. But most important, Jeff is an absolute man of his word. You can depend on what he says. You can depend that he will do what he says. So, as you've heard in business, Jeff is best known for Hilcorp. It's one of his many ventures in business, but the largest and his first. It is the largest privately held oil and gas company in the United States. And I spent most of my life in oil and gas exploration. I can tell you oil and gas is a wonderful business as far as it's an intellectual challenge, it's exciting, but it's a tough business. It's a competitive business. And you look at what Jeff has created in Hilcorp, and from a personal standpoint, I am so proud that our industry continues to produce people like Jeff Hildebrand. He has, in a relatively very short period of time, built a company that has operations from the North Slope of Alaska to the Gulf of Mexico, from New Mexico to Pennsylvania. It's been named one of the Fortune's 100 best companies to work for, and for good reason. I mean, Jeff is known, as you heard on the video, for building talent, building management systems, rewarding his employees, developing his employees. Jeff also founded Harvest Midstream Company, and Harvest now operates over 6,000 miles of pipelines across 7 states, providing gathering, transportation, processing, and treatment services. Not surprising, Harvest has been listed as among the top workplaces in Houston. So I could stand up here and list all the things that Jeff is involved in. I've got to list the University of Texas as my alma mater. He's been on the Board of Regents. He's been honored at the Engineering School with multiple awards. But he's also on Texas Parks and Wildlife, Baker Institute. He's very involved with Catholic Charities. In addition to Texas Business Hall of Fame, he's been honored as a distinguished graduate of the University of Texas, also in the Engineering School. So Jeff and Mindy, as you've heard, are very, very generous, very involved with their philanthropy. They do things that impact all of us. I'm particularly, again, proud of what he's done at the University of Texas, Texas A&M, but multiple charities across the state of Texas. I'm a big admirer of Jeff. And as a member of the same industry he's in, I'm very proud of him. So, but that said, lest you think Jeff did all of this on his own, be advised that Jeff got his first start as an entrepreneur by borrowing money on Mindy's car as collateral. So please join me in welcoming Jeffery D. Hildebrand to the Texas Business Hall of Fame.
All right, good evening. You guys settle in. I've got about 20 minutes here, so I'll try my best to get us back on track. Thank you, Texas Business Hall of Fame. It really is quite an honor, and everyone that stands up here tonight are humbled by this award. To be in the likes of Walter Cronkite, that is quite amazing. Ross Perot, and on. So thank you. So lots of thanks, and I'll run through these pretty quickly. But first, thank you to my wife, Mindy. Without her standing by my side for the last 30 years, I would not be here tonight. She's kept me focused. She's kept me focused, on track, and constantly reminds me, do what you're good at. She never lets me get outside of the fairway. She was really, as Ernie said, alluded to, she was my first investor. That's a true story. I went to her one evening. We had just gotten married. I said, honey, do you have your title to your car? And she said, yeah, why? I said, well, I'm drilling some wells, and I've gone to the bank, and I'm trying to get a loan, but they said you need collateral. And I don't have any, but they said a car title will do. Would you give me your car title? And she said, with some reluctance, oh, sure, of course, honey. That's how it's been for the last 30 years. Well, to fast forward, the wells were dry holes, but it was a really good investment on Mindy's part. The rate of return was infinite, so thank you, Mindy. God, thank you. All right, to my children, Brittany, John Thomas, Jeffrey, I'm so proud of each of you. Importantly, I'm proud to be your father, so thank you, guys. You are the greatest. As well, it's my middle son's birthday, Jeffrey. Let's all give him a hand. I've got a lot of other family members tonight here. Thank you very much for the love and support you've shown me. And finally, thank you to all the amazing employees at Hilcorp and Harvest. We've got some here tonight. There's really no other group of people that I'd rather have spent the last 3 decades building a great organization with. You know, as in all people's lives, in the arc of my life, I've been very fortunate to have some life-changing mentors who really believed in me in critical times when, quite frankly, I wasn't really worth believing in. The first really was my mother. Her entrepreneurial drive, business savvy, zest for life were really unheard of for a female in the 1960s and 70s. My father, who was smart, hardworking, diligent, and the consummate veterinarian. High school football coaches, Dan Hughes, the legendary oil man from Beeville, Texas, and finally Jack Trotter of Houston, Texas. I had the privilege of working with Jack for over 10 years, and he was really one of the smartest men I'd ever met. He was a very tough taskmaster, but he had an incredibly profound effect on my career. So all these people have helped me become the man I am today, and I will always be eternally grateful to each of them. There's so many great business and community leaders here tonight. To you, thank you for what you do. Thank you for the jobs you create, the communities you fuel, and the dreams you inspire. You know, although on the surface tonight seems to be about honoring a few of us who have had some success in business, I think tonight is really a celebration of Texas and what it offers businessmen and women who have an idea, have the passion to pursue it, and then put in the long hours to make it happen. In 1989, I started Hilcorp with a little bit of money, a few wells, some good ideas, and like most entrepreneurs, a few not so good ideas. I was lucky enough to have a core group of people who believed we could build a great company in a state that was conducive to the entrepreneurial spirit where we could dream big. Starting as a sole proprietorship with a single asset, we've grown over the last several decades to a company of thousands of employees operating in 9 different states. And our formula has been pretty simple. Hire smart, ethical people that are team players and create alignment with them. We do this by creating an environment where long-term personal wealth can be created for all. We say that when Hilcorp and Harvest wins, we all win. When we meet our goals together, we share in the success and failures together. And importantly, we do endeavor to make the lives of our employees and the communities we work in better. It's not complicated, it's not novel, but it isn't always easy. In 33 years, we've seen more than a dozen major commodity price dips, recessions, hurricanes, wars, floods, and a pandemic. But despite all of this, we've never had a corporate layoff, something that I'm very proud of because we want our employees to know we've got their back. These are some of the principles my parents modeled to me through their actions. They are Texas values. They are the values that make this state the best place to start and grow a business. Bring your best ideas, all your talents, and all your energy here to Texas. And I'd like to think that here in Texas, we're still a meritocracy. If you have the acumen and work ethic to succeed, you'll get a shot. Lastly, I want to challenge everyone here, especially the young entrepreneurs that are here tonight, to get engaged. Be a leader in your city and state. Bring your ideas and energies to bear. Get our higher education institutions to help grow our future leaders. Talk to our policymakers about the decades to come. And when you succeed, give back your time, talent, and treasure to this great state and its people that help make it possible. Let's make sure that we leave Texas to our children and grandchildren is the same incubator of opportunity that it is today. And finally, for those young aspiring entrepreneurs here tonight, I have 4 pieces of advice for you. 1, be remarkable at something. As you saw in the video, be an inch wide and a mile deep. 2, be intellectually curious and become a lifetime learner. 3, adopt a get-rich-slow strategy in building your business. Get rich slow. I know that's a bit counterintuitive to the millennials today, but get rich slow. And finally, and most importantly, marry someone who will let you leverage their car title to collateralize your first business loan with. Thank you for this honor, and God bless Texas. Thank you.
Before I introduce the next inductee, I want to thank you for letting me be the MC this evening. I have great bragging rights now that I've followed in the footsteps of Walter Cronkite, although my son, when he first heard it, called him Walter Crankcase. And also this right here. I am probably the least deserving of any of the so-called legends that have ever been inducted into this remarkable group of Texas leaders. I'm a first-generation American. I'm a first-generation Texan. And you heard about Texas tonight. You're going to hear a little bit more, I'm sure, from Paul. Every year, I loved it when Red McCombs would send me a pecan pie and in a beautiful box. And on top of that box was engraved, "Thank your lucky stars, you're a Texan." I thank my lucky stars for your putting up with me this evening. Now, our last inductee, remarkable Houstonian. Watch this video about Paul Hobby.
I like to leave things better than I found them. Perfection's probably not a choice that's on the menu every day, but better is. I grew up Houston guy in the museum district, loving family, born in Herman Hospital. This was and is a small town for me. My family had a media business, and I had this idea because our back office was so inefficient in our radio and TV stations that there was an obvious opportunity there to integrate software platforms in the background and make this more automated, more seamless, more efficient. We were so young and naive that we actually pulled that off. We bought 2 companies originally and pushed them together, and then started to create interfaces between products that were adjacent on the value chain. It absolutely gave me confidence, gave me some capital. Then I ran for statewide office. I offered myself in public service and lost the closest race in Texas history. We gave it our all, but it wasn't to be. So I went back to what I thought I knew, which was buying small businesses and making them better. And so to some degree, I guess I've been doing that ever since.
I think through Paul's career, there's lots of successes that he can draw from. Texas Genco, which is a collection of power generators that ultimately was sold to NRG, which was at the time the largest private equity transaction in the world. And Paul went from the board of Texas Genco to the board of NRG, which he remains today. And then at the same time, building up Genesis Park.
Well, probably without knowing it, your first deal informs the balance of your career. I met my partner, Peter Schaefer, as part of that deal. And so in late '99, we came together and we were across the street from Herman Park, so it ended up being called Genesis Park.
Genesis Park realized a void in the market. In Houston, Texas, having a good finance private equity firm that was focused on middle market growth, finding portfolio companies, helping entrepreneurs. Caprock is one of their big early successes, and that was a $10 million investment for them that they ultimately realized $171 million in a quick 4 years.
I attribute a lot of Paul's success with his leadership at Caprock Communications because he was constantly pushing the envelope. He does not like the status quo. I think Texas Monthly is a great example. After Genesis Park invested, Paul took it from really just a focus of a magazine to expanding it into social media, new content and events, and a host of other things to really transform a magazine into so much more.
When Paul mentors you, he mentors you at a 50,000-foot viewpoint. He provides a guiding light, but not the path. It allowed me to use my skills and talents and capabilities to forge my own lane or to identify my own path to get to the light.
Paul really takes people under his wing. He really is a person who is there to help you and help think of ideas and see what obstacles he can clear, but he doesn't ever accept no. It's going to be yes, we're going to get it done.
I had a lot of mentors. I'm glad to give my time to young people because you pay it forward. Everybody has blind spots, and I hope people show me mine. I want to lovingly help people identify their blind spots.
He's often quietly putting ideas in your head and planting thoughts of where he thinks you should go. To see that person succeed is what I really think drives Paul day to day.
Paul's philosophy about philanthropic initiatives are about time, whether it's the Herman Memorial Hospital, whether it's the Baylor College of Medicine. Paul has been very intentional about contributing his time to things he cares deeply about.
I was born in a public hospital and I was educated at public universities, so maybe you don't get very far from your roots. I've spent a lot of time in not-for-profit healthcare.
Paul has such a love for the state of Texas, and in particular, the city of Houston. I'm amazed by how many places Paul can seem to be in 1 week. Whether it's mentoring someone, doing his prison ministry, he always says yes because he knows that he's helping Houston.
I believe that in Paul's heart, he wants to leave the world in a better place than he found it. Paul doesn't have to work every day. He doesn't have to give back. I believe he does because he has a greater calling to leave the world better than he found it.
Introducing Paul Hobby, Hall of Fame legend and 1991 Texas Business Hall of Fame Scholar Award recipient, Doug Fauché.
Okay, before I get started, how many people in the room want Rick Campo to bring back that handlebar mustache you saw in the video? Thank you. Paul, it is time to bring this home. I have had the great privilege of knowing Paul and his lovely wife Janet for 30 years, and I'm so proud to have the honor of helping usher Paul into the Texas Business Hall of Fame. I've seen Paul in seemingly every possible scenario: entrepreneur, business leader, civic leader, church leader, husband, father, and now even a grandfather. And in every instance, Paul has exhibited intellect, energy, compassion, empathy for others, and yes, Paul, as a credit to your mom, decency. As you saw in the video, Paul has made tremendous contributions to Houston and to Texas in his business life, from founding one of Texas' leading private equity companies,
to saving and leading the largest alternative fiber optic network in Texas, Alpheus Communications, to the rejuvenation of one of Texas' iconic brands, Texas Monthly, to the acquisition, growth, and successful disposition of the leading satellite communications provider for the offshore marine business, Caprock Communications. There is seemingly no outer bound to Paul's bandwidth in business. But like many successful Houstonians who have come before him, Paul hews to the notion that to whom much is given, much is expected. To that end, he's held leadership positions in local, state, and national nonprofits in higher education, healthcare, and public policy, too numerous to recite. If you ask Paul, though, what he's most proud of in life, it's his family. Sarah and I have had the good fortune of watching Paul and Janet raise their family through our shared church membership. And Paul's love of family, Janet, Grace, Walker, and Eric, and now their respective spouses and grandchildren, is central to his life and his greatest love and accomplishment. Paul, forgive me for repeating a quote, but it's just too fitting to pass up. T.H. Fehrenbach famously said that in Texas, people who exist get run over by people who act. And ladies and gentlemen, Paul doesn't just act, he leads. Paul Hobby is nothing if not the quintessential 21st century Texan. The most erudite person in this room tonight, who proposed to his wife while on the back of a horse. A man facile with things like leverage buyouts, convertible stock, net promoter scores, who also got his wife bucked off of a horse and used that as an occasion to let her know that she was pregnant with their first child, Grace. And what could possibly be more Texan than a distinguished scholar from the University of Virginia and the University of Texas Law School, whose grandparent name is Popsy, to a man who embodies everything that is great about the great state of Texas. Paul, let me be the first one to welcome you into the Texas Business Hall of Fame.
Wow. Maybe we just stop right there. I don't think it gets a lot better. And through the tyranny of the alphabet, I am intensely mindful of the fact that I stand between you and the end of this game. So Doug was right. We're going to bring this thing home. Doug is a friend and a guiding light for so many people, and obviously me foremost among them. The other first thing that needs to be said is that I'm a big fan of all these other honorees, so I'm sitting there clapping like the rest of you, which means, therefore, I am profoundly humbled to be in this company, as I think there's a common theme of that tonight. The good news there is that I'm used to being profoundly humble because I'm married fortunate enough to be married to Janet, and after 35 years, she's still way too good for me, and I would have it no other way. As Doug said, we have most of our children here. We have in-laws and outlaws in abundance, and I hope you all know that you are my pride and joy each and every day. The other two groups I need to thank early and prominently are my Genesis Park colleagues and our Hobby Family Office cohort. They all just spoil me beyond measure. My forum mates over there somewhere and my NRG colleagues also deserve my deepest gratitude for attending this evening. I guess my story is a little different than most honorees because there is no one big achievement that blocks out the sun. I repeatedly explained this to Amanda when she first called, and I said that fact alone makes me unworthy of this kind of recognition. And she kept saying, "It's not up to you." Pretty persuasive. It's more than just the accent. And I confess that that phrase resonated. It resonated loudly and it resonated deeply because that is a lesson I have learned repeatedly. You know the cliche, if you want to hear God laugh, tell him your plans. Well, I did and he did. And then we got on with this thing called life, as you saw in the video. And that has taken us better and more abundant avenues of service than we could have ever planned on our own. I once read a long piece about Stan Musial, and the preamble there must have moved me because I remember it. The preamble is as follows. It said, "This is a big story of little stories, small kindnesses and quiet dignity," which is weird because I'm not exactly a baseball guy, even though, of course, we're all baseball guys just right now. Well, many of you can testify that I'm not sure I have quite achieved quiet dignity yet. But we do tend to leave things better than we found them by doing the next right thing, the next decent thing. As you saw in the video, we take great pleasure in helping our entrepreneurs succeed, and more specifically, we have done some good things. We've lit a bunch of fiber in South Texas, and Doug was too humble to admit that he's part of that story. Alphea started out as El Paso Communications. El Paso Global Communications. We changed the name because 3 of the 4 words were false. It was not in El Paso and it wasn't global, but it was communications. It was. We have installed and financed a whole mess of solar panels because that's good for everything. We have put community gardens where abandoned lignite mines used to be. We have worked to improve fugitive oil field emissions, avoid flaring, and increase water recycling. We've supported innovative advanced manufacturing in Texas and provisioned defense and commercial activity in space. So a lot of little stories. It was just so surprising to find out that the world is watching all of that. The last thing I want to say is how proud I am of the Texas Business Hall of Fame. My hands were among those spinning this wheel in the mid-90s. And since then, better and faster hands have made a good thing into a great thing. In that respect, I need to honor my partner in that period of the Hall of Fame's progression, Milton Scott. Milton succeeded me as chairman in 1996, and a truer friend no one ever had. Unconditionally positive, crazy competent, and so much fun. Many of you know that Milton left us too soon, and we miss him terribly. We are joined here this evening by Milton's wonderful wife, Yava. Thank you, Yava. We're honored by your presence. We miss Milton, and we love him every day. Milton and I both recognize that this is an organization that is highly efficient. It's a virtuous cycle of reinvestment in special young people, and we're honored to have been a small part of it. Again, many thanks to you all. Good night, God bless, and go Astros.
Wow. I mean, to listen to those stories, it just leaves all of us just humbled, happy to share the room, and just really inspired. So as we conclude, I want to say a great thanks to Richard Fisher for being our MC tonight, a great MC, a wonderful legend, and a really funny man. I just kind of missed the Dr. Pepper deal until he handed it to me, but I'm slow. So as we wrap it up, we want to say, look at the program, we list our contributors and benefactors, and a big Texas thank you. I also want to thank all of my colleagues, team members, and the board of directors of ARIS who are here tonight supporting me. I'm sorry our board meeting starts at 7:30 in the morning. I always want to just quickly thank my husband, our 2 sons, Robert and Ryan, my daughter-in-law who just gave me 5 weeks ago first grandson, first grandchild, and she is here, her first night away from the baby. My darling Diane, my niece. Thank you, thank you, thank you for always putting up with me. Todd Barth, you need a call out for the selection committee and all you do. And then, of course, finally to the whole Texas Business Hall of Fame team, executive director, my friend, colleague who's really just been so strong this year. So Meredith Walker, Patrice Bartlett, Denise Sanada, Regina Thompson, Stephanie Tilson. Amazing night. Amazing night. Thank you. And lastly, we need to acknowledge somebody who did this for so many years, special guest here tonight, Lynn Tiras, who led this event for 30 years and played such a critical role in keeping this organization together and what it is today. So thank you all. And now as we close, and I close out my chairmanship, we want to welcome the next incoming chair of the Texas Business Hall of Fame for 2023, John Keaton. Thank you.
Well, thank y'all very much. Let us first just congratulate Amanda Brock on a very wonderful year and a great event. So I have the pleasure of being the absolute last sports reporter for the evening. So we have the Astros maintaining that 2-1 lead in the bottom of the 7th inning. So I'm looking to my right to try to find Mr. Tom Hicks. So growing up in the Dallas area, you know, I always thought and envisioned if I was ever on a big platform like this, it would be playing for Tom Hicks' Texas Rangers team in the early 2000s. Unfortunately, the ability wasn't there, but the interest certainly was. Well, Amanda earlier today had talked about a special individual for this organization, for the San Antonio community, and we lost him earlier this year, and that was Sean Kennedy. Sean was a good friend of mine, a mentor, certainly was that for myself, but many others. And I would always have an inside joke with Sean before a big event, something like talking in front of 1,000 people here today. And I would start with WWSKD. What would Sean Kennedy do? I always tried to harness that inner Sean in me. He was a wonderful, wonderful person, and he did so much for this organization. And it's just an honor for me to fill in his shoes as he was the chairman of San Antonio the last time it was there. And just an honor to have Debbie and their 2 sons sitting at my table today. Sean was a great, great light. He was great for this organization, and he certainly will be missed. But speaking of great lights, we had a wonderful evening today. Let us congratulate the inductees, the scholars, and the Veteran Award winners that we honored earlier today. Thank you all very much. So lastly, let us just place on our calendars for this time next year, as this event will be in San Antonio, and we look forward to seeing all of you there next year. Have a great night, and let's go Astros.